Welcome to July the 20th. I'll start from 2017, work to 2014, and take it from there. Something should not happen, but they do. Caroline Glick has been touring Australia and was interviewed by Andrew Bolt. She was to give a speech in Melbourne, but Melbourne is lawless under the Australian Labor Party and Dan Andrews, and so Glick was unable to tell the public where she would talk and when, because otherwise her security could not be guaranteed. This follows some Antifa activists accosting Andrew Bolt earlier in the year on his way to a talk. Free speech has been shut down in Victoria and around Australia. The movie The Red Pill could not be shown because activists deemed it unacceptable. Caroline Glick is a similar person to Netanyahu as Peta Credlin had been to Tony Abbott when he was Prime Minister. Caroline is razor sharp and talks like a New Yorker, speedily, accurately, and always apt. Many things she said stood out, but one thing in particular is worth noting. Australia gives some $40 million a year aid money to so-called Palestine, which directly funds terrorism. Antifa activists, Greens, Australian Labor Party, and others don't want you knowing that. In 911, Rollo laid siege to Chartres. 1189, Richard I of England officially invested as Duke of Normandy. 1304, Wars of Scottish Independence, fall of Stirling Castle. King Edward I of England took stronghold using the War Wolf. 1402, Ottoman-Timurid Wars. Battle of Ankara, Timur, ruler of Timurid Empire, defeated forces of Ottoman Empire Sultan Bayezid I. 1592, during the first Japanese invasion of Korea, Japanese forces led by Toyotomi Hideyoshi captured Pyongyang, although they were ultimately unable to hold it. In 1807, Nicéphore Nietzsche was awarded a patent by Napoleon for the Pyrelophore, the world's first internal combustion engine, after it successfully powered a boat upstream on the river Seine in France. 1885, the Football Association legalized professionalism in association football under pressure from the British Football Association. In 1903, the Ford Motor Company shipped its first car. 1932, in Washington, D.C., police fired tear gas on World War I veterans, part of the bonus expeditionary force who attempted to march to the White House. 1934, labor unrest in the United States Police in Minneapolis fired upon striking truck drivers during the Minneapolis Teamster strike of 1934, killing 2 and wounding 67. Also 1934, West Coast waterfront strike. In Seattle, police fired tear gas on and clubbed 2,000 striking longshoremen. The governor of Oregon called out the National Guard to break a strike on Portland docks. 1938, the United States Department of Justice filed suit in New York City against the motion picture industry, charging violations of the Sherman Antitrust Act in regard to the studio system. The case would eventually result in a breakup of the industry in 1948. In 1941, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin consolidated the commissariats of Home Affairs and National Security to form the NKVD, and named Lavrentiy Beria its chief. In 1944, World War II, Adolf Hitler survived an assassination attempt led by German Army Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg. 1949, Israel and Syria signed a truce to end their 19-month war. 1950, Cold War in Philadelphia, Harry Gold pled guilty to spying for the Soviet Union by passing secrets from atomic scientist Klaus Fuchs. 1951, King Abdullah I of Jordan was assassinated by a Palestinian while attending Friday prayers in Jerusalem. 1954, Germany, Otto John, head of West Germany's Secret Service, defected to East Germany. 1964, the Vietnam War, Viet Cong forces attacked the capital of Din Trung Province, Kai Bay, killing 11 South Vietnamese military personnel and 40 civilians, 30 of which were children. 1969, Apollo program. Apollo 11's crew successfully made the first landing on the moon and the Sea of Tranquility. Americans Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon later that day. Eastern Time Zone. 1976, the American Viking 1 lander successfully landed on Mars. 1977, the Central Intelligence Agency released documents under the Freedom of Information Act, revealing it had engaged in mind control experiments. In 1982 Hyde Park and Regent's Park bombings, the Provisional IRA detonated 2 bombs in Hyde Park and Regent's Park in central London, killing 8 soldiers, wounding 47 people, and leading to the deaths of 7 horses.